address anger, resistance, guilt, frustration, betrayal, those strong emotions that prevent us from letting go of something in the past. All right, and then finally for today, I had a request to talk about the due justice technique in one of these sessions. So this is someone who wasn't able to access the PDF easily on her phone. So I'll put a link to the PDF in the description of this video, of course, as well, for those who haven't got it. And here's the information in an audio format for convenience. All right, so what is the due justice technique? So the due justice technique is a powerful unblocker for clearing resistance to changing childhood memories. And it can make all the difference to your results. So in addition to kickstarting the process of changing childhood memories, the due justice technique is also a drain plunger or a brain plunger that you can use over and over whenever you need it, whenever you feel stuck. So a little background on this. So the purpose of the due justice technique is to help address anger, resistance, guilt, frustration, betrayal, those strong emotions that prevent us from letting go of something in the past. So even though the past is over, there's a part of us that's hanging on to it that won't let go, and there's a reason that your brain doesn't want to let go of that. So the reason we find it difficult to let go of anger sometimes, for example, is because holding on to anger or frustration or hurt is not stubbornness. It's not even a conscious decision. It's protection mode. That's why it's so difficult to let it go. So anger is the fight, freeze, flight emergency state. And it's the equivalent of having your fists up in a fight or having your shields up in Star Trek. So as long as the security system detects a threat, it's not going to let down those shields, no matter how much you consciously want to let go of the anger, let go of the past. The conscious mind can't override that security system just by deciding it. The security system needs to be reprogrammed. And when the threat seems particularly lethal and dangerous based on past experience, that security system may not allow you anywhere near it to change it. So you can't even get near it, never mind change it, because the danger is so intense. And so, in other words, your brain won't let you even consider changing those memories. So the due justice technique helps that part of you annihilate the threat, which then allows you to go in and change the programming of the security system. So if you're thinking of something like Star Trek, the shields are up and you need to annihilate that threat before the shields will come down again. So in other words, once you've used the due justice technique, you'll then be able to go ahead and change the subconscious programming, the childhood memories, because the threat has now been removed. So how it works. So the due justice technique works with the unconscious part of the brain and the child in you to ensure that justice is done, the justice due is carried out, and closure is achieved. So that little child in you finally has someone stand up for them, and justice has been done, and you have the closure that part of you needs in order to allow you to move forward in letting go and making changes for yourself. Now, the reason the due justice technique works is that the unconscious part of the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So the unconscious part of your brain will believe that this activity is actually real, is actually happening in reality. So how to use the due justice technique? Set aside around 2 hours when you'll be undisturbed And it's worth doing whatever it takes to prioritize this, because this will affect everything else in your life anyway. So making it a priority will have a positive impact on everything else. And set aside that time when you'll be able to sleep afterwards. So a couple of hours before bedtime or on a day off, for example. Get a notepad and pen, and then write a letter that you'll never send. Now, this is very important. There's a very important piece here. This is not the therapeutic unsent letter writing that's used in other therapies. It's not the same thing. So I'll come in a second, I'll come to the main differences between the due justice technique and the therapeutic unsent letter. But just to stick to the process, so you write to the person from your childhood who you feel harmed you the most, and then write to everyone who raised you. So remember that whether you consciously understand or not, and whether you've consciously forgiven the person or not, doesn't matter. The unconscious part of your brain and that little child in you can't use logic or reason and can't understand. So they just experience and interpret the experience to mean something about who you are and how the world works. So in this letter, make sure you get everything out of you and onto the page. Swear, be unreasonable, use all caps and lots of exclamation marks. Really let them have it with no filters. No one's ever going to see this letter, so you can say everything that's inside you without any filters at all. And here's the key piece about this. Although you're not going to actually send that letter to the person, the unconscious part of your brain and the child in you will believe that that recipient has received it and read it. So that's why this is so effective and so powerful. So that part of you will feel like justice has been done. They've been told off. They've been put in their place, and all of that. They know, and you have closure. So that will free you to then move forward where you've been stuck before. So once you've written the letter, read the letter through, imagining the other person reading it. And then once you feel you're finished with it, so you may just read it once. You may, what I did with, especially the first one I did, I read it through, then I put it aside, and then I read it again. I read it a few times. So it's up to you. Once you feel you're finished with it, then you can tear it up and throw it away or burn it ceremoniously, however you want to dispose of it. And then sleep. So you'll feel drained and you'll feel you need to sleep, and the brain processes our experiences and information while we're sleeping. So you'll need to be able to sleep in order to get the full benefit of it. So just to go over the differences between the due justice technique and the therapeutic unsent letter. As I said before, the reason the due justice technique works is that the unconscious part of your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination, and it will believe that the guilty party has been told off and that justice has been done. So that releases the need to hold on to the past and frees you to move forward. And the key differences between the therapeutic unsent letter that a lot of therapies used and the due justice technique is, for the therapeutic unsent letter, the aim is to help process emotions, gain understanding and objectivity, release emotions, make amends, and gain clarity. On the other hand, the due justice technique, the aim is to allow the unconscious part of your brain and the hurt child inside you, the injured child in you, to feel that justice has been done. It also gives the unconscious part of your brain and that inner child a feeling that someone finally stood up for them. And it gives the unconscious part of your brain and the child inside closure. And the reason is because the difference between these two letters is the therapeutic unsent letter can have a lot of understanding in it and processing and clarity and objectivity in that. The due justice technique has nothing of that. So this letter needs to be pure, whatever anger and frustration and whatever you want to say, with no forgiveness, no understanding, no excuses. no reasoning, no logic. It's just purely getting all of that emotion out of you with no filtering and no, no reasoning or anything like that, because the child in you and that unconscious part of your brain cannot reason or use logic. So if you were to say, you did all this and I'm angry with you and whatever you want to say, and then you say, but I understand what you did, that's like betraying that child. So there's no understanding, there's no need for it. If you want to write another letter of understanding and making amends and all that later, that's okay. But this is purely justice. Okay. So now this is very important as well. Resistance. So, and Steve and I have had this, and we know it really well. You will probably resist doing this. So almost everyone resists writing these letters, and it's completely natural. And if you want the results, do it anyway. So do it despite the resistance. When something's going to lead to massive core changes, the unconscious part of the brain pulls out all the stops to prevent us from doing it, to keep us safe by keeping us the same, to keep us from changing. So you may think that you have perfectly logical reasons for not doing these letters. And as I say, we know this well from ourselves and from clients. And what's actually happening behind the scenes is that the unconscious part of your brain is referring to the fact that this would completely change the status quo, which means you would no longer be in alignment with your tribe or with the way things have always been, and it sees that as a threat to your survival. So remember, the unconscious part of your brain can't use logic or reason. So the fact that you consciously really want more money or a happy relationship or better health or more freedom or success or whatever it is you want doesn't matter. The unconscious part of your brain is programmed to keep you the same as you are now, since staying the same equals survival. You may not be happy, you may be in pain, but you're still alive. So since survival is the subconscious, the main driver of the unconscious part of the brain, it's then prompting triggering your organs to produce chemicals that will create whatever feelings, sensations, emotions, and impulses are necessary to deter you from moving forward on this particular path. So some examples of what you may experience. So you may feel, so your conscious mind becomes aware of these sensations, and sometimes they're very subtle, these emotions, these impulses and feelings, and then interprets them to mean something logical. So for example, I'm too tired, I don't have time, I have to do something else first, this is silly, this won't work, I don't need to do this, I don't have any negative feelings, I love this person, I don't want to say bad things about them, I'll do it later, I've done this before, I've forgiven them, I have nothing to say, I can't do it, I'm scared, and other things. So all of those things, that's how the unconscious part of your brain is controlling your conscious mind in order to keep you safe by keeping you the same. So when you feel resistant to doing the due justice technique, regardless of whatever logical reasons seem to be, recognize it as the unconscious part of your brain trying to keep you the same, and then do it anyway. So if you're able to do the little brain chemistry exercise to change your chemical state, and I'll put a link to that in the description of this video as well, and change childhood memories and practice the new childhood memories, or if you can do all that, great. But if you're unable to use that brain chemistry exercise or to change childhood memories, or you're unable to change perhaps just one person in your childhood or a particular scene, or you're unable to practice the childhood memories or move forward in any way, using the due justice technique as directed here will clear whatever's blocking you. So if you feel stuck then at any point in the future as well, or you're not getting the results you want, do another due justice letter. You can do as many as you like. And, most of us do a few over the period of time of changing childhood memories. All right. So here are some of the frequently asked questions that we get regarding the due justice technique. So some people ask, can I write the letter to my boss or my spouse or my ex or a work colleague? And the answer to that is absolutely, you can do that, but you'll need to write it to those who raised you first. So remember that everything you're experiencing now as an adult, including your boss, your spouse, your ex, work colleagues, and others, is based on your childhood experiences. So as you encounter the challenges with those in your life today, the unconscious part of your brain is referring to the so-called evidence in the form of those implicit childhood memories that proves who you are and how the world works, your self-image and worldview, and what certain experiences mean. And then it's prompting your brain and body to produce chemicals, and those chemicals create sensations that your conscious mind interprets as emotions. So write the letters to those who raised you first and change the childhood memories of those people and practice new childhood memories, and then move forward to the people in your life today that you feel you'd like to write to. Another question is, who should I write to first? So the answer to that is start with the person for whom you feel the strongest negative emotions. So if you have issues with someone in your life right now, like your boss, your ex, your spouse, ask yourself who they remind you of from your childhood, and then write a letter to that person first. And if you feel one of your parents was the one who impacted you the most, write to that one first. You can write to both parents at the same time, or grandparents. So see what feels a good start. And then, of course, you can always write to the others as well. The next question we have here is, do I have to write? Can't I just imagine saying it to the person inside my mind? So it's the act of writing the letter that creates the effect, not just imagining it. So you may have experienced the feeling of having a lot to do and trying to keep all the information in your mind. And then when you write, when you make a to-do list, it frees that part of your brain and you're able to think more clearly. And another example is if you can't sleep because your mind is too active, if you have a notepad and pen next to your bed and you unpack your head by writing it down, writing down whatever it is you're thinking about, you'll find it easier to go to sleep. So the purpose of writing the letter is to get all of the stuff out of your head, out of your mind, and onto the page, so that you're not holding it in there as you would if you were just imagining it. Next question is, do I have to write for 2 hours? And the answer is no, not at all. So the 2 hours time slot is just a guide. It's just a ballpark. It may take you longer to get everything out, or it may take a lot less time. And it may vary from one letter. You may write one letter that's very long and another one that's only a few minutes. So just write until you feel like you've got everything out of you and onto the page. Next question is, I can't think of anything to say, or I don't know how to start. Just start with, dear so-and-so, and then write whatever comes into your mind, even if it's something like, how are you? I am fine. It's sunny here today. I'm going to have spaghetti for supper. Just start writing anything at all, and you'll find that the emotions start to come up automatically. And then before you know it, you'll be expressing all your deepest emotions. So just allow yourself to write whatever's coming for you. Keep reminding yourself that no one's ever going to see this letter. So you can really let rip, and you want to get everything out of you and onto that page. Next question, does it make a difference if I write by hand or type? And the answer is yes. Writing it by hand will get you more powerful results. Of course, if you can't write by hand, then typing it will be better than not doing it at all. But if you can write by hand, rather do that if possible to get the best benefit. The next one is, I can't find any anger, and my letter is understanding and polite. So in this case, try these options. Take a moment to imagine that these things happened to another child. So if you have children or you know children, so you nieces or friends' children, and so on, imagine that the people who raised you treated those children the way they treated you, and see how you feel about that. Remind yourself that no one's ever going to see this letter, and the purpose of it is just to clean out the infected wound, and then you're going to destroy the letter, and then you're going to make changes and heal. So take a break from the other thing you can do is take a break from it, the letter, and go to changing childhood memories of that person. So see if you can change the memories, and notice what happens when you try to change the memories of that person. Notice what happens inside you, and then come back to writing the letter again and see if that helps to bring up some of that emotion. Next question. As I read through the letter, I can imagine them arguing with me, justifying, excusing, and defending their actions. So if this is the case for you, notice what they're saying in your mind, and then add your own responses to your letter, or write another letter. So even if you're just replying, bullshit, you don't know what you're talking about, bugger off, whatever, keep answering any responses you imagine from them until there are none left and you're able to feel closure. Next question. I feel guilty about saying negative things about this person. So remember that they're not going to see it. No one's ever going to see it or even know that you wrote it. And whatever you write is already inside you. So this is not something you're creating. This is not about creating bad feelings and thoughts. This is about getting what's already inside of you out of you and onto the page, and then letting it go. So rather than a reason for guilt, it's a reason for freedom, because it's already inside you and already affecting you. And doing this process is getting it out of you in order to get rid of it and to free yourself from it, so that you can then have more love, affection, appreciation, joy, fun, abundance, connection, and freedom in your life and in your relationships with others. Next question. Can I end the letter with something positive, appreciation or forgiveness or love, for example? No. So is the short answer. If you include any positivity, any reasoning or understanding or seeing things from their point of view or anything else positive, even right at the end of the letter, it's like telling a child who's been badly hurt that you're going to deliver justice to the people who did that to her, and then she watches you deliver that punishment, and then she watches you apologize to her attackers and try to see things from their point of view and try to understand them and thank them and tell them you love them. So don't do that. So remember that the child in you and the unconscious part of your brain can't use logic or reason. So it would feel like betrayal. So you're betraying yourself. So let this letter stand alone, purely due justice. No filters, no reasoning, no understanding, no seeing from someone else's point of view. This is just due justice being delivered. And then after you've read it and you've destroyed it and you've slept, then if you want to, you can write a letter of understanding, appreciation, forgiveness, and so on, if you would like to. So in a separate letter. And then you can move forward with positivity, love, and appreciation. And then that positivity will be more genuine, more natural, and more free and more effective as well. And the final frequently asked question that we have here is, I wrote the letters, but I don't feel anything different. And that's okay. So not everyone experiences a noticeable emotional shift. Many people do, but not everybody. So just go ahead then and create the new childhood now. So if you have memories show up that contradict the new childhood, then change those. And if you find you're still experiencing resistance, then you may resistance to changing those new to changing those childhood memories or creating the new ones. Then you may need to write another letter. So there's no right or wrong. The letter is only a plunger to unblock the drain. so that you can continue washing your dishes. So it's not an end in itself. So the letter itself is not the cure, it's not the solution, it's not going to do the healing. The new childhood memories are the solution, the cure, and the healing. So the due justice technique is purely to allow you to get on with creating those new childhood memories that are actually going to change your life. So in other words, it's a way of clearing the anger, the hurt, and the resentment that is preventing you from letting go of the past and moving forward by changing the childhood memories to more empowering references for that unconscious part of your brain. So I hope that all helps. And of course, let me know if you have any questions. As always, if you would like to submit your own question, or if you'd like me to work with you during these sessions, I can do no content, and you can be anonymous if you prefer. You'll find the details for that in the description of this video. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye now.